And action. Welcome back to Faith and Folklore. I am one of your hosts, Tobias Okerlund, with my aunt, Auntie Katie.
Hi, guys.
Today, on the podcast, we are going to be talking about aliens. We're going to be
Woo.
talking about little green men flying around in disc-shaped objects. This episode, it's going to be it's going to be strictly the history of aliens throughout the years, and we're going to try and just go through that and just see what people had to say about aliens back in the day. So Katie, take it away.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the nice thing about this structure, if you listened to our Halloween episodes, then you kind of have a feel for how Toby and I like to dip our toes into things.
Yeah.
All of these subjects that we'll be covering in our podcast aren't things that we are like super knowledgeable in or like have spent years researching. They're things that we find interesting, things that we wish people talked about more, especially in the faith community. But they're subjects that get avoided. And so we're just excited to do some research on our own, and then start to develop our own opinions on these things. So whether you're Christian or not, or whatever your faith background is or isn't, I think that you'll really, or I hope, our hope is that you will enjoy these the subjects that we're talking about, and that you'll want to get involved in the conversation, because that's really what this is. It's a conversation between Toby and I about interesting stuff, and getting to kind of figure out like, where do we stand on subjects like alien and Bigfoot and aliens,
Singular.
alien single, Bigfoot, Nephilim, angels, demons, all these just cool things. So if you'd like to join the conversation, then please follow us on Instagram. It's Faith and Folklore. I've posted quite a bit of alien content this month. So there's lots of areas for you to leave comments. Tell us what you think about aliens. Are they real? Are they fake? What do you think they are?
Yeah.
If you're watching this on YouTube, then leave a comment down below. I would just really love to know, like, when the word alien pops in your head, like, what are the top things that come to mind? Is it modern? Is it ancient? Is it scary? Like, are you afraid? Or are you like excited? I want to know. People, tell me.
Come on, people.
Tell me what you think. So join the conversation with Toby and I, because that just makes it so much more fun. Like Toby said, this episode is, we're going to talk about the history, because when you know the history, then you can understand the modern side of things, and where you want to place your beliefs, so to speak. So aliens have been, well, I won't say aliens have been around, but the interest in extraterrestrial beings and UFOs and just anything that happens in the sky,
like the stories around it have
stories around it.
They've been here for a long time.
They've been in a lot of ancient texts all around the world. And it makes sense. You look up and there's a vast space with lights and blinky things, and you have to wonder, like, what else is up there in that big black sky of ours? And especially prior to more modern science, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, modern space travel, pre-telescope, when people really did just have to kind of come up with their own interesting theories. So one of the first recorded examples of somebody actually taking the time to write down not just folklore or just not just oral stories that were being told, but non-biblical potential alien writings was from 200 AD from Turkey, a guy named Lucian, Lucian, something along those lines.
Something like that.
Lucian Samosata wrote a novel called Vera Historia, which just means true story. So,
let's see how true this is, guys.
yeah. According to Luciana, there is an entire race of people and animals on the moon. We've got some hairless, not people, but hairless creatures. We've got birds made out of grass and leaves. We've got elephant-sized fleas for fun, I guess. And actual people that sweat milk. So don't really know
Don't really know what to do with that.
but like why?
Yeah.
I don't know. That would look really weird, I guess. Just
It would.
wet milk.
Oh, that's gross.
I don't know. It's weird.
Thinking about like sweating,
Yeah.
because I sweat a lot, and then just it being milk, like that's
Do you
gross.
drink it?
Well, yeah. What do you do with that milk?
What do you do
It's
with
just
that?
like, oh,
Like,
oh
no, we don't drink sweat milk.
we don't drink sweat milk. Only
Oat milk? Sure. Sweat milk? No.
No.
I had like a sweat milk latte with
Oh yeah, for sure.
just squeeze that out. Yeah, so that was one of the first, not even like historical writings, but just first. Oh, my light just went out behind me. Ooh, spooky.
We're not talking about ghosts in this episode.
Yeah,
What is
sorry.
going on?
And then we have also some moon people stories from Japan that I won't get into, but just kind of to point to the fact that historically around the world, cultures were writing about people in the sky, moon people.
Were like the stories, I mean, we don't have to get completely into it, but were like the stories from Japan kind of similar to the stories in his book? Or were they not really?
They weren't as weird.
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah.
They were a little bit more realistic, a little bit. There weren't elephant-sized fleas.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
people that, about people on the moon, I guess. A
Cool.
race of people on the moon. And then just kind of like bouncing around the world, really, we have a whole bunch of history pertaining to structures that were built, whether it was the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Egyptians, the Sumerians, these groups of people that have built these incredible pyramid. Most of them kind of look like pyramids, but these incredible structures that kind of don't make sense for a group of ancient people to be able to build. How did they know the geometry to do that?
Yeah.
How did they have the manpower to lift these tons?
Like 2,000 like pound things.
I
heard this thing that was saying, like, arguing for it, and it said if you wanted to build those, you would have had to be stacking a block a minute, or a block every 2 minutes for like 22 years or something like that. And that's like a 2,000 like pound thing.
Yeah.
You're not, this isn't, that's crazy.
2 minutes. You're not going to do that in 2 minutes in this day and age, even with
you can't, we can't do it. Like there was a study done in China, and they were like, we're going to try and build pyramids like they did. And right off the bat, they like used like, they were like, "We're gonna do it exactly the same," and they used, like, a saw or something to cut like, a nowadays saw to, like,
Yeah.
be able to cut it how it was supposed to be cut,
Mm,
and then they used, like, a forklift to try and get, like, the thing, so it was like, we are already showing that, like, we
yeah,
can't do this
yeah,
now, or
yeah.
we can't even do it now, how did they do it back then?
How did they do it then? Did they have help?
Yeah,
Did they have beings with more knowledge and more strength possibly
yeah,
helping them? And then you have hieroglyphs that depict kind of our Western view of an alien, something with an elongated head, sitting with what look like more like people, obviously in a teaching posture, teaching them astrological things, teaching them geometry, teaching
mm,
them mathematical equations.
yeah,
So you have those depicted in the hieroglyphs. And then you have cultures like the Sumerians who were highly intelligent people building these incredible things, having modern medicine, etc. And then the entire civilization seems to disappear. There's
yeah,
no, they're here, they're here, they're here, they're here, they're gone.
yeah,
Where did they go? Did they get abducted? Were they the aliens themselves and they
yeah,
left? Um, Questions that Toby and I have.
yeah,
Um, and lastly, I guess I would say the other more ancient historical thing are these Nazca or Nazca. I'm not exactly sure, but we'll say Nazca lines. And again, it's these ancient, not quite structures, but sort of
almost drawings in the
almost
ground, right?
drawings, yes, in the ground that are massive, like beyond the size scope that someone could look at and be like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, that's gonna make sense."
Yeah, it's
Unless
almost
you were
like
a mathematical genius or
yeah,
could
be raised. You would have had to have been raised up to,
Mhm.
like, draw these things. You
Yes,
because they're almost, like, perfect in how they're
yes,
drawn,
you're perfect. Like, you look at them
mathematically.
and you're like, "This
Like,
is insane." Like
even, like, looking at a corn maze now, like,
yes,
we can barely even do a corn maze. We have to be able to be lifted up to even see
mhm,
to draw a corn maze. So how
yes.
did these people
Without drones, without planes.
yeah, without any flying objects, I guess, like, how did they do it?
How
And
did
then it has to be I feel like a lot of people do agree on the fact that maybe that this stuff is too
Mhm.
crazy for humans to have done,
Yeah,
or at
yes,
least not by themselves, at least
yeah,
not by themselves.
I
Yeah,
agree. I think that that is a general consensus of, like, we don't this is weird. Like, I don't know
yeah,
what it is, but it from like I said, from Egypt to Peru, the Machu Picchu, to the Aztec temples, to these Nazca lines that are kind of, again, worldwide. They pop up in all sorts of different countries. How were people all over the world doing similar things that it
almost the
doesn't
exact
like
same thing.
yes.
Why was everyone building this exact same structure and
Yeah.
seeing these very similar creatures, very
Mhm.
similar beings, because
Yeah.
they all are drawn in almost the same way, it seems like, or at
Yeah.
least they're talked about in the same way,
Yeah. Very similar.
whatever these things are.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, yeah, just unhuman-like characteristics,
Yeah,
building impossible
impossible structures.
structures
Yeah.
worldwide. So,
Yeah.
um, and kind of all around the same general time period, like ancient
Yeah.
people thousands of years ago. And then it seems like things went kind of quiet, kind of dark through the dark ages. Um, and not from what I found anyway, there wasn't a lot of written, maybe there was orally, but there wasn't a lot of written information out there of things pertaining to extraterrestrials, UFOs, until more around the 1600s.
Mhm.
And then there are more documented sightings. Um, uh, not a ton, but more than there had been for, several hundred years, if not
Yeah.
thousands of years. In 1639, we have the governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony, John Winthrop, wrote about three men that witnessed a great light in the sky that was seen darting back and forth for multiple hours, something more than 3 hours, which reminds me a lot, like if you were to look up nowadays, like a lot of what people are like, oh yeah, I saw an alien spaceship, I saw a UFO. It's so often described as an object that
Darting back and forth, yeah.
starts in a way that isn't
It's too fast,
too
and
fast.
it's too it's when you see a plane fly, they have to be able to almost, like, swerve in a sense, but
Yes.
this is like vroom, 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 vroom.
Yes.
It's a gradual thing with the plane, but it's a very, uh, darty.
Sporadic
Yeah,
or
sporadic way
yeah.
of, like, shoo, 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 shoo.
First off, like, why? What are you doing?
Yeah,
Second off, how are you traveling that great of a distance in a literal blink of an eye?
yeah,
It's like, so nowadays people might be like, "Oh, well, the government has that kind of a capability and they haven't told us about it." But I can guarantee in 1639, there was no
they
government
didn't.
that had
That kind of
that
capability.
kind of capability. So if
Yeah,
that's like your typical, like, um, thing to pass the blame to,
yeah.
can't be going
We
on.
can blame the government for a lot of things, guys, but
Yes, but back then, I don't give them that much credit. Um, then we have, one more that I'll mention from the 1600s was, um, fishermen in in the Baltic Sea near Germany witnessed in r supposedly documented witnessing an aerial battle of some kind happening in the sky
Something.
above the sea,
Hmm.
lights, and they described it as a battle, a war of sorts happening in the sky over the sea. I don't have a lot of information on that, but again,
Yeah.
just
Stories, more stories.
stories, more stories. And then again, kind of nothing again written much about until more like the well, I guess about 100 years later, there was a diary entry that was found from one of the US presidents who had some sort of an encounter. Now, depending on what Google search you click on, it could be an alien encounter. Some see it as that, some see it as an angelic encounter. I don't actually remember what word he used in his diary, but it was George Washington in 1776, 75.
There's a number, guys. If it's wrong, we apologize.
We apologize for that.
Here, I can look it up while you keep talking.
74.
Okay.
1774. So
Okay.
obviously prior to America becoming a country, because what his diary entry says is that, and he wrote it down in his diary, and he told like his lieutenant, like there was one other person that validated, like, yes, he wrote about it, and he actually came to me and told me, and he was like super shook up about it. But he was visited by a being of sorts that told him, have it was during the Revolutionary War. That also might be wrong. 1774. How long was the Revolutionary War? Yeah.
Um,
We're great at
I didn't
math.
think this was gonna be a quiz.
Yeah,
I didn't
totally.
prepare.
Yeah, quiz. 1774, what was going on? Was it the Revolutionary War battle? I believe it was. Um, he was really down though, and he was pretty convinced that they were gonna win. They weren't gonna win. Whatever specific battle it was that they were fighting, he was pretty certain they weren't gonna win, but he was visited by this being that said, have courage, don't give up. Not only are you gonna win this war, but the world itself needs America,
Yeah.
and you're gonna you're gonna be someone who helps bring that about. And it gave him the courage that he needed, and they won the battle and they won the war. Sorry to spoil alert.
Spoiler alert, we won.
Then we fast forward another 100 years, and there was a pretty large group of people from Canada through America that saw tons of lights in the sky and what they described as fantastical machines. So again, if you don't have the words, you've never seen a plane. This is pre-plane flight. This is before we had commercial airlines. So how else are you really going to describe? You're not going to be like, oh yeah, we saw a bunch of flying planes in the sky. You don't have words for it. So they described it as fantastical machines and lights flying around. But it was seen all the way from Canada down, I want to say like through the southern states, possibly.
Okay.
A large space and a lot of people who have written accounts of this. And then that kind of brings us up until the 1900s. And the 1900s, I think, was a time that, well, first off, Hollywood became a thing. And so you have that influence on aliens and how we perceive them. And then you had cameras that can start catching aliens on footage. And government agencies that were formed to protect or to do weird things pertaining to aliens. So there's a few obviously major ones that come to people's minds. You've got Area 51, you have the Roswell incident in New Mexico. The year that Israel was declared a country right after World War II was also like one of the first times that UFOs were talked about in the news. So you have like this merging of government and alien sightings that lead so many people to the rabbit holes of aliens, and people who spend either their lives and their livelihood is alien like research, or they're not making any money and they're just diving down YouTube rabbit holes, which is easy to do when you
that's the best thing to
digging on this subject. But yeah, the Roswell incident, I think, was one of those first ones that got people really like, what is this? This is in America. It's like hitting close to home, I guess. And it was the beginning of some of the government, what's the word I'm looking for? Like agencies that were developed, happened after the Roswell incident, which happened in 1947, which makes sense why, again, right around when Israel became a country, how that kind of coincided. But the U.S. military reported that as a flying disc object, but later retracted that statement and claimed that it was a weather balloon that crashed. But the guy that saw it was like, no, there was literally like aliens that I saw that were like burnt to death. And it was not a weather balloon. You know, this thing was huge. It was metal. It was not a weather balloon. And then supposedly that same year, President Harry Truman put together a secret group called the Majestic 12.
Oh, yeah.
Which, depending on which YouTube rabbit hole you fall down, people might say that, no, that's fake, or no, it isn't. But then a few years after that, the government did really create a group of people that would investigate. It was like pre-NASA, and it was the Project Blue Book, and their job was to literally sift through all of the alien stuff that was starting to come
Yeah.
into our culture pretty much,
Yeah.
and look at UFO sightings, encounters. It was a US initiative that was created to like decide what the public was going to be told and what the public wasn't going to be told.
Hmm.
And that
Yeah.
brings us to Area 51 because that was kind of right around
Yeah,
like
kind of the same time, I
50s,
guess. Yeah.
60s.
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to talk about the Area 51, guys. So Area 51 actually has a couple of names. Dreamland, Paradise Ranch, and it's
That's
like,
weird.
yeah, isn't it like these like names are very like strange.
Mhm.
And then Homey Airport, I think is how you say it, and that's like the real name. It was
Okay.
founded in 1955. It's an Air Force facility inside of Nevada, inside the Nevada Test Range and training like facility. Um Area 51, like I said, was created in 1955, but the CIA didn't like nobody they didn't say it was real. They didn't say it was real and they didn't say it wasn't real. They didn't like say anything about it. And
Okay.
then under like the Freedom of Information Act, they requested like, hey, make all this stuff public about Area 51, like what is going on in there. They
Mhm.
requested that in 2005 and it didn't go through until 2013. So that was still a long time, like
Yeah. I
in
mean, that's like
between all the
50 years
yeah,
of stuff happening.
yeah, of like stuff that could happen or like just information that they like why would they not tell us about something that they made? Like,
Mhm.
what's going on? And then
Mhm.
why would they wait so long once we say, "Hey, we realize there's something going on here. Can you tell us?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah, 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 yeah."
Just a few more
Like,
years.
yeah,
Mhm.
just a few more years,
We need
please.
to
So
learn
yeah.
some information.
Yeah. But that's Area 51, like, the creation of it. And then I guess I can talk about this incident that happened in 2019. It was I think a lot of people, I mean, at least kids my age will remember this. It was like it's the Area 51 raid. It was started by a guy named Matty Roberts. It was a Facebook meme. That sounds so like boomer. It was a Facebook meme, but and like oh my gosh, that killed you. You're dying.
Dying.
Um but so that dude, the dude that made that, he was like, yeah, that was just a joke. But then a bunch of people were like, yes, let's actually do this. And then two festivals were formed to like be to happen in where was it? It was a very specific place. Rachel's, Nevada, and then Nevada Hicko, Nevada, something like that.
Okay.
But
That's weird.
they were called Alien Stock and then Storm Area 51 Boot Camp. Those were the names of the festivals.
Okay.
Um, and 1,500 people attended the festivals, and only 150 people like showed up to Area 51
Oh,
on
okay.
September 20th. So like this thing, like tons of people were like, let's like do this thing, and then like nobody showed up, but like a bunch of YouTubers like showed up to it. That's
Mm,
what I remember like the most is like Mr. Beast like showed up to this thing and was
I'm gonna
like
have to
at
look at
Area 51.
that
Like,
video. Does he still have that posted? I would
yeah,
love
he does. Yeah,
that.
I think he does. Yeah.
Okay.
It just like why? Why would that like
Yeah.
happen?
Yes. They're like, oh my God, I'm gonna get so many
Like,
views.
yeah, and or like then why would anybody think like, oh yeah, like we'll be able to sneak into Area
Yes,
51.
like, this has been top secret government,
Since 1955, and
but, like
before that probably, because, like but, yeah, it's
but
crazy.
we'll be able to get in. Like, honestly,
Yeah,
I would be worried about getting shot. I'd be like, "No, I
yeah,
don't wanna get shot
yeah,
today."
I don't wanna die, actually. I don't
But
wanna get shot by a laser gun from an
yeah,
alien. Yeah,
or an alien.
yeah, that's more of just, like, a freaking goofy story,
Yeah, that's wild. Well, and
yeah.
it's interesting because, like, again, it's just bringing us from, like, hieroglyphs to YouTubers. Like, this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
where we're at.
it's a pretty good like, that's where we're
Aliens
at.
really, they've been around, and
They've
they've
been around.
fascinated people, and they will continue to fascinate
Yeah,
people.
yeah. So, guys, hopefully that kind of, like, gave you a little, I guess, introduction into aliens
Mhm,
and kinda showed that aliens are not necessarily this new phenomenon.
mhm.
They've been around, or at least they seem to have been around for a very long time.
Yeah,
Um,
the idea
and
of them
yeah,
is kind
yeah,
of it's, like,
there's
hitting the news a lot right now and gaining
yeah,
popularity
yeah,
again, I guess you could say.
yeah, but there it wasn't some, like, weird, like I mean, they're weird, yes, but it's not some, like, completely out there theory, I guess, of something being when you think about the vastness of the universe, and we'll get into this, like, all this stuff next time, especially from the Christian perspective, that's kind of what we're gonna go into, and then also, like, what we think about it
Yes.
personally. We'll go into that in the next episode, but just thinking about the vastness of the universe, like and, like, how big it really is. Like, if
Mhm.
you think about how
Yeah.
big, like, the Milky Way galaxy is, and then you think about, like, all the other galaxies, and then, like,
Mhm.
it's just it's a crazy thought. It's
It is
crazy.
crazy. It's it's so big that it's too big for our brains to even
Like, comprehend.
comprehend, and that's probably for a reason.
Yeah. There's always a reason, guys.
Probably a reason. But yeah, I feel like, it doesn't matter really kind of like whether you believe in them or not, or what you believe that they are. They've been being talked about for
Yeah.
thousands of years in every culture in the world. And so it's something that you should at least think about for a minute, like,
Yeah.
because I think that they will continue to be a bigger part of the narrative in our news and in our culture.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have to form some kind of opinion on them,
Yeah.
or at least you should, like,
Yeah.
especially as a Christian. Um, because when someone asks you, like, well, what do you think about aliens? If you're just like, oh, I don't know. I mean, that's a fine answer, but like,
It's also
I
not.
know there's a verse in the Bible that says, like, you should have your answers ready. Like,
Yeah.
you should be able to answer intelligently when
Yeah.
people face you with questions. And aliens is one of those, like, every subject, it seems, um, subject that can get really spiritual. And
Mm.
so I
Yeah.
am excited to, like, really dive into that into the next episode. Obviously, this one was just kind of more like a historical
Yeah.
timeline of
Yeah,
sorts.
and that's kind of how we're gonna do a lot of our stuff is we're
Yeah.
gonna look at the kind of the history of it, or at least give
Facts.
our best
History.
representation of,
Yeah.
um, the history, and then we'll go
We'll
into
take
other stuff in the next episodes, kind of our opinions.
Mhm.
We might even bring people on, like friends, family, to talk about, stuff.
Yeah.
And then also, guys, this is something that we're pretty excited about, but so we are kind of we're gonna be doing this thing on our channel, where we watch a movie. Me and my aunt, we watch a movie and we like react to it, but it's gonna be correlated to whatever we're talking about on the podcast. So this next week we're gonna post it. Or yeah, we're gonna post it sometime.
Yeah.
But
At some point
yeah.
soon.
So it's a movie about aliens. What was it called?
Signs.
Signs. That's what it is. And
Yes.
it's um It's a great movie. It was a really great movie.
It was a really great movie. There's like a few there's a few, like, good ones out there, but I feel like that one actually ended up being so weirdly perfect because it had a
Yeah.
really spiritual side to it, more than,
Yeah.
like, Men in Black or
Yeah,
E.T.
exactly. Yeah,
or
it was very oddly, like, perfect for
Mm,
what we were doing.
yeah.
Um,
We were like, "We should say
"What
we
you doing?"
planned this, but
Yeah,
we
we
didn't."
didn't.
We can't
Can't
take credit
take
for it.
credit
We'll
for
give
it,
that
yeah.
credit. He was like, "Listen, guys, don't watch E.T., okay? Watch
Yeah.
some."
Hey, watch signs, okay?
But, yeah, definitely keep your eye out for that 'cause,
Yeah,
it's obviously not a new movie, but Toby
yeah,
hadn't ever seen it,
yeah.
and so his reactions are like, what's the word? Just
Priceless?
yeah, well, yeah, they were priceless.
Absolutely perfect.
They were perfect, and they were real, where
Yeah,
I had seen it, it had been, like, so long, I honestly didn't remember the movie,
yeah,
but yeah, watch
yeah,
that.
yeah, and that's gonna guys, because this stuff as I think a lot of the last episode, it can get or, like,
Mhm.
the last episodes, it can get pretty heavy,
Yeah,
especially when, like, we talk about this stuff, so that's gonna be a very, like that's gonna be a lot of fun. That's gonna
yeah,
be a very, like,
yeah,
funny, like, oh, like, jump scares kind of thing. That'll, like,
yes.
be a good separation, I
Mhm,
guess, from this serious kind of, stuff that we talk about on
yeah.
this. But, yeah, guys, this was a kind of a long one, but,
Yeah.
it was I think it was very it was better than we recorded this one time, guys, and it was, like, an hour long. So,
So you should think
um
right now,
yeah,
okay?
thank
We
us,
condensed
please.
down the facts, we didn't rant, and
Yeah,
we're keeping it
not
under 4,
too much at least.
so that's pretty good for
Yeah,
us,
yeah.
okay? You're
So,
welcome.
guys, yeah, yeah, you're welcome. Um, thank you for watching, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for
If you are
listening.
watching and if you're
Yes,
listening, at least when I get it all figured out, you'll be able to listen to this on, like, podcast networks and stuff.
it'll get there.
Yeah, it'll take a while, but it'll get there someday. Um But yeah, guys, like, comment, subscribe, follow the Instagram, Faith and
Yes,
Folklore. You can message us anytime,
yeah,
unless you're a bot, don't message us.
don't message us.
But yeah, I mean, I think we wanna keep this community kind of tight knit, I guess.
Mm,
We're not some like we're not like crazy famous people. We're
yeah.
normal
If
people.
you
So
message us, we'll
we'll
answer
respond.
you.
Yeah. It'll probably be Katie, cause
Yeah,
but yeah.
that's true.
Uh, but
Probably.
yeah, guys, thank you for watching, listening. Thank you for coming back if you have
Yes,
listened before, and, we'll see you in the next one.
unless you get abducted.
Yeah, unless you get abducted. Unless we get abducted. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Okay, guys. Bye-bye.